So as a forensic interviewer, my job is to speak to the children whenever they come to the Child Advocacy Center. Children are referred here whenever there's allegations of abuse or a child may have witnessed a violent crime or something like that. So once the children arrive here, the forensic interviewers are the ones speaking to the kids about their experiences.
So my job is to do a medical assessment for either physical or sexual abuse or neglect, and to provide that medical input into whatever is happening in regards to the child.
My job here at the center is to meet with the caregivers and the children to assess their trauma symptoms and provide resources in the community for them to best get the help they need as they start their path to healing.
When children are very anxious about having a medical exam and we reassure them it's going to be okay, and then they have a lot of questions. Is their body okay? Are they okay? And it seems like when a child leaves more relieved than they entered the CAC with an accurate assessment, that's what I am most impacted by. I would say in this center, we have a very comprehensive model. So not only do we have this investigative interviewing medical process, but we have a mental health process that not only allows assessment, but we have opportunities here to have our own therapists see children after. And really the process that we want to put in place is something that is not traumatic. We call it trauma-informed. It recognizes that sometimes the processes that we put families and children through will be triggers for their past traumas, regardless of what those are. But also, we want them to move on to the treatment phase where our mental health coordinators and therapists can see them, because that's really what helps kids get better, is that mental health treatment and to understand how trauma is affecting their brain and their development.
I think working here, the biggest impact that I've seen that we make is that the kids are leaving better than we found them. They're leaving happier than they came to the center. They're leaving with smiles on their face. And I think donations to help continue the work that we're doing to help these kids continue to heal and learn how to be kids without trauma responses is a huge reason.
Having the center available to all of these families is huge. And I think this is one place that the children can come and feel in control, just because, at school, they're not necessarily in charge. At home, they're not necessarily in charge. But once they arrive here to the center, everything that we do here is all revolving that child and making sure that that child has a voice and that ultimately they have a say in what's happening with their appointment. They may not have a say in, what happens after their appointment as far as, with the investigation or things like that. But while they're here, ultimately that child is in charge and we are respecting, their wishes while they're at the center. And
so I think that everybody needs to be aware of the children who live around them and their families and their communities, and recognize if a child is experiencing whether some type of emotional distress or they have physical injuries or there's something changing in their attitude. And don't be afraid to be the person for that child to try and help them. And really, you can only help them if you make a report to Childline. It happens in every community, it happens in every society, it happens in every socioeconomic status. It's not somebody else's problem. It's our problem. It's our society's problem. It's our community's problem. Just know that. And you can help children get through it and do better if you recognize that it's not something that happens to somebody else. It's happening to all of us, to all of our children.
And I think the idea that if you're a member of a community, it's your responsibility to make sure that these children are taken care of, whether they're your children, whether they're the neighbor's children, whether it's a kid you see walking down the street, just trusting your gut and knowing that there's investigative services out there that are meant to see if it's true or not. It's not up to you to be the jury. You are just reporting what you see and doing your job as a member of a community to make sure that these children are protected.